Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. It is 7:06 in the morning. Okay, this is part 6 of chapter 1, A Belief in the Soul. Elsewhere in 2 Corinthians, St. Paul speaks of having attained separation of the spirit and the body at will, and having ascended in the spirit to the third heaven, which was a technique he may have mastered as an initiate of the anesthetic sect of Jewish mystic who practiced Merkabah, an advanced form of meditation which translates as rising in the chariot. Ancient apparitions. In order to understand the nature of ghosts, we need to accept the fact that we all possess what is often called a dream body. An etheric or spirit double composed as subatomic matter connected to our physical form by the etheric umbilical cord, which is only served upon death. Such a concept is central to the philosophies of the East, but can seem too fanciful to those warriors who have not had an out-of-body experience, OBE, or at least have no memory of the experience, for it is likely that everyone has had an OBE during the deepest stages of sleep. Oh my God, I have. So what evidence is there for the existence of this true self, and how might it explain the various phenomenon we categorize under the broad heading of ghosts? While much of the evidence is anecdotal, there are numerous cases where an apparition was witnessed by more than one person, or where an individual was later able to verify they had observed during their astral journey. There is also solid scientific evidence for the existence of the ethereal double gathered from experiments conducted in the mid-1970s by Dr. Carl Osis of California, USA, during which the invisible presence projected by a psychic in an adjoining room was recorded either by photosensitive instruments or sensors, which could detect the tiniest movements of a feather in a sealed container. This question of evidence occupied the ancients of intensely as it continues to occupy us today. The earliest recorded discussion on the subject can be found in the writings of the Chinese philosopher Mo Tzu, 470 to 391 BC. Since we must understand whether ghosts and spirits exist or not, how can we find out? Mo Tzu said, "The way to find out whether anything exists or not is to depend on the testimony of the ears and the eyes of the multitude. If some have heard it or some have seen it, then we have to say it exists. If no one has heard it and no one has seen it, then we have to say it does not exist. So then, why not go to some village or some district and inquire? If antiquity to the present and since the beginning of man, there are men who have seen the bodies of ghosts and spirits and heard their voices, how can we say that they do not exist? If none have heard them and none have seen them, then how can we say they do? But those who deny the existence of the spirits say, many in the world have heard and seen something of ghosts and spirits. Since they vary in testimony, who are to be accepted as really having heard and seen them? Mo Tzu said, as we are to rely on what many have jointly seen and what many have jointly heard, the case of Topo is to be accepted. Topo was minister of the Emperor Husan, 827 to 783 BC, who ignored warnings that if he executed Po on false charges, he would be haunted by the minister's ghosts. 3 years later, San was killed with an arrow fired by an apparition resembling Topu in front of an assembly of feudal lords. Chapter 31, Yopo Me or My Translation. Okay, so that is all for Part 6, Chapter 1, Belief in the Soul. Thank you for watching.